Sometimes I have a day when I don't feel motivated, and when that happens, this is one of the tools that I use. It's something that helps me to shift my thoughts according to a specific process so that I always know I can inch myself into a better feeling state. The frame I use for this is simple, but in order to use it, you have to understand that all of our thoughts have momentum. So when you have a bad day and the mind starts to spiral, there is a reason for that. And you've probably experienced this 1,000 times. So you're working on some project and there's just some obstacle that you can't get past. And the mind thinks, I'm never going to get through this. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I just can't do it. As we start to repeat those types of thoughts, they gain momentum, they gain power, and negative energy starts to stack up within us. So what we want to do is learn how to harness that momentum so we can use it to redirect our thoughts and reorient ourselves into a more positive state. And that's where this technique comes in. It gives you a very powerful way to change your mood by focusing on one obvious characteristic of your thoughts. By the way, I'm Kyle Greenfield with The Joy Within, where I help people to take back control of your mind and your mood so that you can stay focused on what really matters. I've been a coach for 10 years now, and in that time, I've developed a series of simple, repeatable frameworks and strategies that we can use to help us with pretty much any negativity that we face. This is one of those strategies, and it's all about understanding the different roles of general and specific thoughts. So yesterday, I was driving my wife to the train station when all of a sudden our tire pops. And unfortunately, this happened on a bridge, so it's not like there was anywhere that I could pull over. So my mind starts to think, oh no, we popped a tire, what am I going to do? And on the surface, that might sound like it could be a neutral thought. I mean, after all, it's a thought about what actually just happened. But in reality, it's really quite negative, because behind it is this feeling of, I just really don't want to deal with this today. Now, because I have practiced managing my thoughts, I recognize this as an inflection point. I'm driving over this bridge with a popped tire, and it would be reasonable for my mind to start spiraling. It would be reasonable for me to start thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? I don't have a spare, and I wouldn't know how to use it if I did. And I still have to drive over the bridge, which is horrible for my wheel. So I have to call a guy, and it'll be super expensive because I need them to come right now. And it'll probably still take a few hours, and that'll kill my morning. I'm going to have to reschedule all of my clients and hope they don't get upset. And I'll probably have to push back this other project too. So basically, my week is ruined. Man, I'm really glad that I did this favor for my wife. Now stop, and let's think about what's happening here. The mind starts spiraling because it starts moving into more and more specific negative thoughts. At first, the thoughts are directly relevant to what just happened, but as they build momentum, the negativity starts to jump into other topics. So dealing with a flat tire no longer becomes just about the annoyance of dealing with the flat tire. It becomes stress and anxiety about money, work, even a bit of resentment towards your spouse. And I know we've all had moments like this, but because I knew to be on the lookout for this, I didn't let my mind go there. I was able to catch it in time, and I didn't actually think any of those thoughts. Instead, I started to think, oh no, we popped a tire. It's kind of annoying, and I guess I have to deal with that. Oh well, it is what it is. I can only do what I can. Now that's the same situation, but very different energy. Do you feel that difference? In the first example, the mind starts moving into specifics, which gradually leads you step by step into thinking that the world is ending. Whereas in the second, by staying general, that negativity never really takes hold, and that bad event doesn't ruin your day. And if you're practiced at this, you might even start to take it into the positive here. You might start to think, well, I'm really grateful that I can take this in stride. I know life happens sometimes, and I'm prepared for that. It's not really a big deal. I already have the money to pay for this. John will understand if I have to reschedule our call today. It's okay. Now think about how I just did that. I didn't lie to myself or try to pretend that I wasn't in a frustrating situation. I took the situation I was in, and I chose language that helped me to reorient my thoughts into a better feeling state. Just as my earlier example started with a general negative thought and gradually built up negative momentum by becoming more and more specific, I can do the same thing in the other direction. I can start with a general positive thought and expand that energy by elaborating on it and stepping myself into a more specific positive state. The key is in the aspects you choose to focus on. So for example, I can take this in stride. Life happens sometimes. That's fairly general. Then I move to, but I'm prepared for that, which is still general, but a little bit more specific. I already have the money. Again, we're becoming moderately specific here. And then John will understand if I have to reschedule our call today. That's a very specific, more positive thought. I wanted to use this example because, well, firstly, it happened yesterday, so it's top of mind for me. But more importantly, because it's not about work. I think very often it's easier to practice these techniques for the first time when you're dealing with a topic that you are not that attached to. But when we focus on work or motivation, we often have a lot of hidden negativity under the surface. We often feel the weight of it, of all of the pressure that we put on ourselves. And that makes it harder to shift into a better state because we can't see clearly the energy of the thoughts that we have. So now that we've seen how to use general and specific thoughts to manage our inner momentum on a topic that's kind of random, now let's see if we can apply it to something that really matters. So let's take motivation. Whenever you're feeling unmotivated, the first thing you want to do is step back and notice the thoughts that are behind that. I always like to state them very plainly. I will say to myself, I don't really want to do this, or I'm tired, or I just don't feel like it today. Notice how general those thoughts are. If the thought is general, it is an inflection point, and where you go next is 100% within your control. So notice what your mind does here. Does the mind lean into a negative thought? Does it lean into something like, I don't want to do this, it's so annoying, I can never get it to work right, and then it takes forever to figure out what the problem is? Do you see how that's leaning into a slightly more specific negative idea? We always want to be on the lookout for this. Specific negative thoughts increase unwanted momentum. General negative thoughts slow that momentum. They're still negative, but they give us the opportunity to make a shift so we can move towards a more neutral or slightly positive state. Then as we think more general, positive thoughts, we reorient our mood. We point ourselves in the right direction so we can start to rest there, elaborate on it, and think more specific positive thoughts. As we do, that's how we move into higher energy states. That's how we feel excited and aligned and fulfilled. So if we're stuck in a specific negative thought, we can move towards a more general negative thought, pass through neutral into a general positive state, rest there, and then increase the specificity to have more intense positive thoughts. That's the path that we want to follow. But usually when we're feeling unmotivated, we're not actually intensely negative, so we have even less work to do. All we have to do is notice as soon as we stop feeling motivated, as soon as we feel that, I don't really want to do this. If we catch that while it's still general, it becomes easier to make a shift, easier to find an inspired state. So that general feeling of, I don't really want to do this right now, can become something more like, I don't really feel like doing this, and that's okay. I can take a moment to myself here. I know I have the ability to reset. I have the ability to choose my point of focus. I can choose to focus on the burden of this task, or I can choose to focus on the promise of it. I can choose to see how it fits into my goals. I can see it as a stepping stone. I can realize that by doing this task, I am becoming the person that I really want to be. I know that when I finish, I'll be proud of myself. Because I am becoming that person who takes action on what needs to be done. I am becoming the person who moves steadily towards my goals. And by taking this step right here, right now, I am that much closer to where I want to be. Feel that difference and notice how it is a series of small steps that reinforce positive energy and move you into an excited and inspired state. This takes practice, and that's okay. But once you have this skill, it works every single time. It is a simple, practical way of thinking that helps you to shift your energy and your mood on any topic that you choose. So to apply this, I recommend you set aside some time to write. Choose a topic, preferably something that you are not too attached to, and play with the idea of moving the energy around. Just for practice, try moving into a more specific negative state. Then come back to general thoughts and feel the difference. Then try to shift into a general positive state and then get more specific from there. Feel the difference again. It might feel awkward at first, but as you practice it, you'll start to get the hang of it. If you need help or if you want to go deeper, you can head over to thejoywithin.org and book a call with me. This is exactly the type of work that I do with my coaching clients. We take a specific challenge that comes up and we look at different ways we can approach it, different ways we can shift it into a better state so that you have the ability to stay in control of your mind and your mood. This skill is so important. It's not just about feeling better. It helps you stay focused on what matters so that you can move forward clearly and confidently as you move towards your goals. So again, you can head over to thejoywithin.org to schedule a one-on-one call with me. And if you like this video, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment below. That helps me to know to make more content like this so that together we can create a happier and more peaceful world. Thank you so much.